17th. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday, a couple things happened. We had the kind of range-bound market yesterday in the Qs and the SPY or ES and NASDAQ futures. We did happen to move down the most traded price of the week, which is bearish. So we're holding the lower prices. Doesn't mean you can't just go up, but generally that is not good for bulls. You're holding prices lower. And after Powell spoke yesterday, he actually put more doubts in rate cuts for the year. He said that inflation is not, basically it's being tougher than they thought, so it could go higher for longer, especially with the labor market and stuff the way it is. So, have to see. Now, this morning, a couple things have happened. ASML had poor, I think, guidance. So that's semis. So the semiconductors are down a little bit as the sector. So that's what's going on this morning. I just saw that Netanyahu has said they have the right to defend themselves, and I believe they just got attacked again. So you got that geopolitical risk going on too, and yields again should be, well, they should be flat today, but we'll look into that. We'll look into all that later. Without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use volume profile and market profile to find structure in the market, multi-gamma exposure level, supply and demand, anchored VWAPs, and the most traded price of the year, the rolling month, the rolling week, and the previous day. All helps me find structure and put risk on. When a lot of those things line up, it gives me a trade plan, as you will see down later on when we do scenarios. It just helps me look at the market with one big paint brush, and I can just look at my levels and come up with a game plan. This is my foundation. This is how I read the market, and it sets me up for what I want to do for the day. Okay, and then once that's set, we have the scenarios. Obviously, then the market opens and there's further analysis done, and then you really start getting nitty gritty of what you want to see. So that's what I do, and I'll show you guys those scenarios today. Look at daily charts, stuff like that, go over some news, and without further ado, well, before that, subscribe, set an alert if you haven't already. Of course, if you enjoy my content, please give me a big thumbs up, a like, that would be much appreciated, and you can always follow me on X at Gonzo719. Alright, like I said, we're going to get right into the futures watch list, and let's see what's going on right now in the markets. We don't really have any huge data releases today. We have crude inventories. That's really about it. Fed speak really after the close. We'll get into that. Silver's leading right now, up 0.61. Russell's up 0.35. ES up 0.25. The Dow's up 0.17. Nasdaq's up 0.14. Bitcoin's flat. 10-year yield hasn't reported, but I would think that it would be flat. Basically, 30-year bonds are flat. The dollar is pretty much flat, down 0.05. The gold is down 2.5, still around 2,400. All right, crude was pulled back almost to 1%, but then I believe, since what I read about Netanyahu, and then just I believe, I can read it later, Lebanese tack on them or something like that. Crude has paired some losses. Okay, Ether's down 0.73. And the VIX is at almost 18, so we still have fear in this market. It is down 2.28% though. Okay. Yesterday was wild. Even for being a range-bound day, you had some whippy price action. So let's move on to the Max 7 Plus. And who's the leader? Coinbase. Coinbase is definitely pulled back. Okay. It's only a 0.9. Tesla in the news again. Something about a package for Elon. The job cuts thing. I saw Kathy Wood just bought shares. I think over 5,000 shares of Tesla. That's what's going on with Tesla. Nvidia is up 0.78. Even with the ASML, poor earnings or for guidance. All right. Amazon's up 0.51. Netflix up 0.4. And then Netflix reports tomorrow. Okay. What else? Now, laggards, there is not one laggard, not even one negative on this list. Okay, moving on. That doesn't mean much because nothing's up crazy. So, moving on to top sectors. Okay, now Eli Lilly had some drug news. They had some testing, I believe, of a weight loss drug with sleep apnea. That's up 1.64%. Okay. United Healthcare had earnings yesterday, even though they had a loss because of that cyber attack. It was at a key level, so we'll see what happens with that. It's up 0.56. Morgan Stanley's up 0.40, UPS up 0.25. Johnson & Johnson had the earnings too, a slight miss, but they're up 0.24. Now, is there a laggard? A little bit. Qualcomm down 0.09. Chevron and Exxon down slightly. Okay, moving on to the swing trade list. And let's see who's leading there. United Airlines had earnings, they're up 5%. Okay. Alcoa, now what happened there? That's aluminum. Biden is putting a tariff on aluminum and I believe steel. I could be wrong about the steel thing, but that would drive people to buy here. All right, if you have to pay a tariff for China importing that, that would be that. Omnicrom had some earnings; they beat earnings. Supermicrocomputers up 1.75. American Airlines in sympathy. AMC's up 1.47. Western Digital 1.37. Delta Airlines up. That's MicroStrategy, Royal Caribbean. All right, that's what the leaders are looking like. Laggards. Autodesk. Autodesk is down 5.51%. Not really sure why right now. Travelers down 2.74. AMAT, I saw had some kind of negative news. I can't remember what it was, but it was negative. That's down 1.66. Semis, right? Okay, so that's about it for there. All right, we'll go back to this top swing. And I'm gonna just go to sectors, and you can see what I mean about nothing's really up really big, nothing's really down really big. You got financials up 0.28. Basic materials, that does not move the market, up 0.23. Communications up 0.20. Industrials 1.17. Discretionary 0.17. So they're mildly up. And the laggards is semis. Okay, but that's only down 0.12. I mean, Nvidia's up. And AMD is pretty much flat. AMD I saw is coming up with a new processor, I want to say. That's what's going on there. Moving on. Let's look at the economic calendar, which isn't much today. Boom. Let's look at this together. Okay, today, crude inventories. Okay. So crude inventories at 10:30. That usually moves crude around and then it settles. And then we really just have Fed Mester at 5:30. Fed Bowman at 7:15. I mean, that's really not going to affect the market today. So we don't have anybody affecting the market. Okay. Now, let's get into some upgrades and downgrades. Some large orders hitting the tape right now in my ear. Let's see here. Upgrades. Anything to note? Let's see. Nothing that really stocks that I pay attention to. Downgrades. Urban Outfitters. Initiated coverage. Trying to see Royal Caribbean at a buy. Enphase, hold for solar, a buy. Okay. Let's see if there's any other ones. They have not updated. Okay. Now, we talked about Powell already. Basically down to almost one rate cut for the year. ASML, I talked about that. UK inflation slows again. Interest rates coming. Watch the mark. Crude full. U.S. inventories grew yesterday, pushing down a little bit on stocks. All right, let's move over here. United Airlines jump as a result beat dramatically low expectations. What else here? All right, I wanted to talk about. I'm just really quickly skimming here. Eli Lilly, here we go. The drug maker's weight loss drug succeeded in 2 late-stage trials testing it in patients with obstructive sleep apnea. The company said the drug, chemically known as tirzepatide, helped cut the frequency of irregular breathing by as much as 60% on average across 2 trials in patients with the condition. Lilly said the drug's safety profile was similar to that observed in previous studies. All right, that's good news for them. All right. And then here you just got a couple of, what do we got? Alphabet raises price target from 190 from 180. Morgan Stanley, KBW raises target price from 98 from 94. United Health Group gets a price target cut from 555 from 495 to 555 from 596 amid reduced claims visibility. Okay, that's what we got going on there. About what I was talking about the Israel thing. Let's go to that. All right, so says here we go. Lebanese Hezbollah says it's launched missiles, drones on Israeli military facility in Arab al Aramash in response to Israeli killing of Hezbollah members in Lebanon. Okay, then Israel. Netanyahu says Israel reserves the right to defend itself. Let's see. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, after meeting German and British foreign ministers, Israel appreciates advice but will make its own decisions. Israel will do everything to defend itself. Okay? So, crude's getting a little pop from that stuff. Okay? Crude's getting a little pop. Now, crude's in balance. Very in ultimate balance, actually. Maybe you can check that out a little later. Alright? Now, I think we should move on to the daily charts, okay? Why don't we do that? Look at these charts together. All right, let's look at these together. All right, so we're holding below the 50, right? Under the 20 moving average, the 90 MA daily, 100-day moving average is down here at 490. Okay, this is key. I was looking at this yesterday. Now this is last month's lows. You couldn't come above that, so we closed underneath it. So we're holding underneath this big major level. That is bearish. That is bearish. Okay, we do have this channel. It has been broken, but trend lines are a tricky thing. You know, you try to make them as pretty as possible. They're not perfect. Okay, you could even do that. See, if I make these perfect like that, look, we're pretty much on it. So I'm going to stay like that. You know, in the beginning, I might have been like, oh my God, it's broken. But like, you really got to play with them. You really got to really break through them to really see something. Okay. Now, this is bearish, right? So, something. Okay, no. I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so SPY, right? This is last week's lows. We're below that, right? So we're below last week's lows. And this is this week. These orange, right? So this is just bearish, okay? So 505 is where we're at now. 505. So see, we're playing around with this monthly level, last month's lows. That level is very key. 505. 505 is a very key level. Last month's lows. Okay, these whites are previous monthly lows. So if you just look at the whites, that's monthly candles. Yeah, oranges are weeklies. I mean, I don't have to look too far on this one chart. Okay, now I'm going to do something a little different today. Let's go right into futures and look how futures look. And this is, remember, this is the back adjusted contract. So I'm going to go back to M24 and we'll look at just the futures so we can see what's going on now. Because remember, the SPY doesn't show, overnight because it's not futures. Okay, so just look. We'll just look at this. Here's that monthly low. Came right up to it in futures. And look, we're holding. And we're accepting these lower prices. Okay, below last week's lows. Got the 100-day moving average here, 5,006. You look to the left, that's key support. Okay, 51.24 is that monthly low. So right now, look, this is bearish. Okay, this is bearish. All right, now let's move back to the Qs, and we'll do the same thing. I think I'm going to can do this more often now to give context, even for myself, for weekly, monthly lows in the futures. Even though SPY is similar, it's not exact. Okay, so this is the Qs. Okay, what do we do? Here's last month's lows. Tried to come above it. We couldn't. Okay, had a little doji candle yesterday. Below last week's lows, right? Holding below last month's. This is a major level, okay? 432.70 something. Okay, say 433. We're holding below it. It's bearish, okay? So the next move down, you got 421 100-day moving average. Okay, this got some support here. Right here, you look to the left, you have support here. Okay, now we do have a gap, big gap, from here all the way down here that has not been filled. Okay, keep in mind of that. But 421, I would think if we really move and get cooking, 420, 421 could be a destination for the Qs. Where's the Qs out now? 431.70. So 431.70 is like in the middle of yesterday's session. Okay, now let's go into the Qs in the futures. Okay, so here's futures. All right, just to give you perspective. In futures, last month's lows couldn't get above it, right? So the levels are a little different, but the same. But the futures really shows you really the monthly lows really couldn't get over it, right? And you got two candles right here, and you're just holding these lows. That's bearish, okay? The 100-day movement average is a lot closer than the NASDAQ. Okay, so that next level is a little different than the Qs and the futures, right? So I would say you got 1784 would be support, 175. They call it 175, right? But here, right here, I think if we break that, we probably might have a chance of going down to 174.80 or 175. Okay, 17,500. That's what I'm seeing in the Qs. All right. So that's wrapping up that. I think that's what we're going to do from now on, just to look at the levels as well in futures. Okay. So let's move on. Let's move on to the triple-headed monster, which is the 10-year yield, the VIX, and the dollar. Okay, now that is finally weighing on this market. These are yields. Look at yields. We bottomed out at, what was that, 3.7, 3.78 yield. Okay, 3.78 yield. That meant bonds were being bought. Pretty much came up to 5% yield almost, and then wham, all the way back down. Now look, we fought the way back, right? So look, we're up here now, not too far from this top. Now that is calling out the Fed's bluff of cutting rates, right? This is expecting inflation to be higher, and currently right now 10-year yield is flat. Like I said earlier, it's flat. It's right at yesterday's close. We're flat. Okay, so this is at a key level now. If you look here to the left, that's a resistance, prior resistance right here. Okay, so if you knock out 4.6, 4.7 yield, boy, you got the next one at 4.9. That should really put weight on the market. Really should. The key word is should. Okay, VIX. Fear staying alive here. Over 16 VIX is a 1% expected move in the S&P 500. Okay, so we topped out at like 19 something, but we're still holding above 16. Okay, so expect volatility. Okay, VIX is at almost 18. Okay, fear is in the market. Now, let's look at that dollar. The dollar's had a run too. So look at the dollar here. Dollar's had a run here. Came all the way down to like $100. Came up, came back down, came up, came back down. Right? Usually not good for equities and not good for commodities. But oil, with geopolitical, that's why oil is rising. But usually when the dollars, because oil is priced in dollars, So that's usually not good. Okay. However, and you notice gold's only down slightly right now, but gold has been just going crazy. It's ignoring everything. Okay. So very important to look at this, because if the dollar keeps rising and bond yields keep rising, it's not really good for the equities. Okay. We'll just keep an eye on that. And that was your triple-headed monster. Okay. This is meaning something now, finally. Okay. Finally is meaning something. Now, we'll get into structure. This is my favorite. All right. Now, couple things here. Let's move this chart up a little bit. Okay. All right. So, let's look at our structure. We got a little bit there. We got thin volume here. Come down here, and we got value area. 70% of the trade in the last week is all here. Look at that value area. So the value area is at the low portion of the profile of the week. Okay. What else happened yesterday? I said the most traded price of the week has to move down lower in order to say, ooh, sellers are in control. So it did. It moved down. That price is, let's call it 51.04. Okay. That has happened. Okay. So what happened? Previous value was up here. Price moved down here. And now value followed price. Generally, this means we probably take a tick lower. Remember, I speak in probabilities. Anything can happen. But generally, that's what happens. Okay? We are below monthly VWAP. Okay? Sellers are in control. We are below week-to-date VWAP. That just tells you sellers are in control. The average seller is getting paid. That's all that means. Okay? And we now have, this is our third session. This is why I love looking at overnight market profile, right? Because you have one session down at these lows. Right? We closed on real-time trading hours here, right? Then we had an overnight session. Then we had yesterday's session. Now you have another overnight session. Hence why the most traded price has moved down lower. Okay? Buyers are not lifting up the market. Sellers are not taking it down. But the longer you hold lower, it's not good. Okay? Especially with Powell's stuff yesterday. Okay? And the market is also due for some type of correction. So all that information being told, we're just in this little balance area here, in this little range. Okay? Still have a little gap below us that hasn't been filled yet. All right. So the bottom line in this market, okay, now as this information we keep rolling and rolling and rolling, it's eventually, we're going to get a very balanced profile, and there's a move going to happen. The most traded price of the month is still up here. That price is still 52.54, and the more you build out this orange volume profile, and if that can overtake it, then you're going to have ultimate balance. We're going to have a huge move. I don't know if that happens. We got a lot of earnings coming up. So, okay, so let's just look at this, because there's not even a lot of supply and demand zones to even talk about, because we're in balance. Okay, when you're in range bound market, so this is really what we're talking about. Around 51.20, that's horrible. 51.20 to around 50.80. That's the playground. Okay, that's the playground. Now, even if I'm going to analyze the overnight, right, it's pretty balanced. Okay, pretty balanced. Here's the open. This much long to this much short. Really not an edge there. There's not. Okay, most traded price of the week's right here. So we need to see what happens, right? In a range bound market. Now, like I said, you got this to here, and that's the playground until it's not. So you have to assume, and if we come up here and we start to get rejected, we're going to go back to here. If we come down here without any catalysts and we try to break, if we don't, we're going to go back to here. That's what happens in range bound markets, right? The edges are what you want to be active on, not in here. This is a bad spot to be active. You can get chopped up. Okay, so that's as simple as it gets today. Okay, of course, if you do one of these, you break and you hold, 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 hold. You have single prints above us, we can go right back into this mess. Or we break lower, fill the gap, and go lower. But for me, I just don't buy a breakout, okay? Because you can have failed breakouts. Okay, so that's really it. So as far as bull, down here, 50-80, this is your area. Come down here, see what the market gives you. If it gives you lower highs and you can't go lower, well, at least you know you're going to the other end. If you break out, I'll wait for some pullback, hold. As long as you hold above here, you do have single prints and you could fly right back. Okay, and if you fly up there, you might even tap these single prints and go back to the most traded price of the year. Okay, that's for the bulls. For the bears, remember, we are in a bear's posture, so that 51.20 right here, if the market tends to come up here and we can't hold above there and we start coming back, well, we're going to go down, test these lows. Okay, now like I said, we could bounce, or if you break these lows and hold, fill that gap, you're going down to the next demand zone. That's about how basic it gets today. Not a lot of complicated stuff. Okay, that was your ES scenarios. Okay, let's look at the NASDAQ. It's going to be very similar. Okay, it's not as pretty. Okay, I have to say that it's not as pretty. Let's move this up a little bit. Not as pretty. But we'll look at it. Okay. This session from the last week, you can see how much we've moved. And the value area is very large from here all the way to the bottom, right? And what happened to the NASDAQ? We also moved the most traded price down lower. That is 179, so 17,900. So sellers are in control in the NASDAQ. Underneath the monthly VWAP, underneath the week-to-day VWAP, sellers are getting paid. Okay, they're in control. We did clean a little bit of single prints here yesterday, but we couldn't get it. Remember I talked about it? If you go into single prints and they act as resistance, that's usually a little feather in the cap for the bears. Okay, now yesterday we still could not fill this gap. Still have this much gap left. Okay, so this is not as pretty. Okay, because you have a high here that kind of like, you don't have any equal highs. You kind of got an equal low, but not as pretty. So I like the SPY structure, ES structure better. Now you do have a bullish imbalance and like a P formation in this overnight session. And okay, I want to show you something here. The most traded price is right there. So from these lows, right, you got buyers pushing this up, holding this up. Now, what are you also around? the most traded price of the week, right? Which happens to be the most traded price of yesterday, this level, which is 179. Okay, I just want to show you something, what would happen. So think about this. If the market has longs that are in here, and longs are joining the party up here. Now we know this is the most traded price of the last week and yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to make you understand of why I'm pointing that out. It's very crowded right in here. Now we know we got longs from the bottom and longs here. So if you do something like this, okay, that would be excess. And we come through this and hold underneath here. What's that going to do? All the longs are going to have to liquidate, and you're going to revisit, maybe fill this gap, okay, and maybe break these lows and test the 100-day moving average in the futures here in this demand zone. I don't know if it does what I'm saying, but if it does, now that I'm saying this, I kind of like that scenario in the NASDAQ, because it's just picture perfect of why I look at volume profile, market profile. Because you wouldn't know how much volume is transacting in a candlestick. You just wouldn't know that. Okay, so I'm expecting, now remember this, it might even happen while we're speaking. I'm expecting this to do this. Maybe even go up to yesterday's highs, right? You got week to day VWAP here. If it does that, like I said, and you start coming through, and you go under, you're going here, okay? So let's talk about this. Now we got some scenario here, right? If we talk about a bull, right? Remember, sellers are in control. Now, what you need to see is this, okay? If this level is very important for a bear and bull for the NASDAQ. So if you do one of these, hit yesterday's highs, hit the week to day VWAP, can't clean single prints, and you come back, okay? Let's say you come back. But guess what? Let's say you come back and you can hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Well, there you go. This could shoot you straight up. Okay? This could shoot you straight up. Now, of course, even though it's not perfect, we could also fall, fill that gap, get a little bear trap coming in here, come back, also do this. You might stop here in that case. Okay? So those are the bull situations. Bear scenario. I already gave you one before, but let's talk about it again. If this market moves up and makes this profile have excess, you match yesterday's highs and you kind of maybe fail the week to day V up. Like I said, you could start doing lower highs. Now, if you're brave, you wanted to short here, you definitely wanted to take profit here. But like I said, if you come through this, hold and hold, it's just a matter of time before longs liquidate their position. You fill that gap, then you test these lows of yesterday. Okay, if you break those lows and hold under it, you're going to find yourself into this demand zone in the 100-day moving average in the futures. Okay, so very crucial. Like I said, it doesn't have as clean as lows and highs as the ES, but the way the profile's set up right now, and with semis having a little weakness, you just really have to gauge this market. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. Okay, that would be your NQ scenarios. That's the wrap up there. Okay, now hopefully everybody appreciated those scenarios and everybody understands it. If you don't understand it, send me a comment. You can do it now in chat. I have a couple minutes, or put it on the YouTube channel and then I'll answer it. Okay, at one point, just want to make everybody understand the stuff I look at, I did not know how to read this at all. I mean, this is probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I just look at this and go, I don't know what this guy's talking about. It sounds like it makes sense, and then it kind of made sense, and then it made more sense, and then I was kind of seeing it after the person explained it to me. Oh, okay, I see that. And then it was like I see this, but then I would still miss things. But now it's like, boom, I see it. I see it. It's perfect. Okay. So just wanted to let you guys know that if you are struggling from what I'm showing you. Okay. Now, that's it for me. All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed these scenarios. I hope you learned something, made you intrigued, or you know, maybe you want to learn more. Okay, I know to me this is like just my foundation. Is how I love to look at the market. It just makes plans and scenarios much easier for me than candlesticks. Obviously, I've been doing it a while that I could look at candlesticks and surmise a scenario, but why? If I have all this stuff to look at, it makes it easier, right? That's the whole point. Make it easy. All right. Anyway, hopefully you liked it. So give me a thumbs up, okay? And if you did like it, you could also follow me on X at Gonzo719. Okay. So we got our plans. I mean, I'm going to sit back, wait for the market to give me what I need to put some risk on. All right. I wish everybody good luck today. Stay green.